I'm Tiffany. Welcome to Towering TBR. Today is June 1st. It is the first day of the Amazing Readathon, and it is the first day of Pride. I am so excited to get this started. Yesterday, Bree dropped the first announcement. We are headed to Toronto. Toronto has this amazing library system, and so the prompt is to read a book that you didn't purchase. Super easy because I have a great library as well, and I was recently gifted some things. If you saw my June TBR, which I'll link, you will see that I even pulled a prompt that said gifted book. So you might be thinking, oh, this is the book she's going to read, Magic for Liars. It was gifted, it's fantasy, it's queer, ticks all the boxes, let's do it. But no. My library hold for another book just recently came in, and I am so excited to get to it. I don't have the physical book yet, but I do have the audiobook, and that book is called Dreadful by Caitlin Rozakis. This is supposed to be a very humorous fantasy following a Dark Lord who's lost his memories. It sounds amazing, and I want to read it, and so that is the book that I'm going to start with. I'm also going to be starting Foundryside by Robert Jackson Bennett. I'm buddy reading this with Audrey over from Audrey Approved. I'll link her as well. We are only going to be reading about 50 pages a day, so this is going to not count for any of the legs. Something that was a good change from last year is I was buddy reading a different book last year and I couldn't make it fit the prompt, and so I didn't get to count those pages. However, this time there are 50 sightseeing prompts, and so when I finally finish this book, it will fit one of those prompts. I'm thinking it'll be the 400 points for a one-word title. I think that's the most points I can get with this book. And I plan to do weekly vlogs showing how I'm doing and what Team Fantasy is up to. I will have to be careful about sharing any penalties or advantages because if it's like last year, the other teams don't know who wins the leg and who loses the leg, basically. I even binged a whole season of Amazing Race right before this readathon just to get quite in the mood, and I am very excited for it. I'll take you along and let you know how my reading is going. I am really glad I let my mood decide and picked up Dreadful because it is so fun. It is like a over-the-top, campy farce, making fun of the typical dark wizard type lore. We have a really explosive opening. He comes aware of himself and he doesn't know who he is and he doesn't have all of his memories. And he is in a castle of a dreadlord. And he pretty quickly figures out that he is the dreadlord, Gavrax. And he has just successfully kidnapped the princess as a larger plan for an evil sorcerer. So he is stumbling around trying to act cool and not let anybody figure out that his memories are gone because he obviously has enemies and doesn't know who to trust. So he talks with the princess and tries to ascertain what's going on, and he talks with other sorcerers. He and others are apparently teaming up for this big huge thing, and he's trying to get as much information as possible. I took notes because I'm reading this and Foundryside. I don't typically read the same genre at the same time, so I didn't want to get confused. He says later of kind of his predecessor, who he was with his memories. A toddler with a lightning wand would inspire fear and indulgence without respect. And I really love that line. The book is full of humor and not typically laugh out loud humor, but more smirk or giggle. One of his lines that really made me smile was this. He straightened up, wondering how old he actually was. Was this early middle-age pain? Or was this time to start slaughtering virgins for the literal bloodbath before the 700 years of life caught up with him pain? And as a person who deals with chronic pain, I really related to that. He decides he's going to try and be good without the choices and the consequences of who he was. And burdened by that past, he now can make good choices. But he is tested immediately because he wakes up with sun streaming in his face and birds chirping loudly. And he wants to just explode all the birds. And that really reminded me of the scene in Friends when Phoebe's dating that cop and he shoots the birds because they're annoying him. He meets with the villagers and they're expecting to be slaughtered because they have not brought in enough crops. But when they mention that there was a bumper crop of garlic, he decides that he's going to have a garlic festival. That way that the villagers won't starve and they can buy other things. So, I mean, it's super wacky and campy and a lot of fun. 2 words, moat squid. Like, that whole scene, really enjoyed that. He kind of refers to the past, like him when he had his memories, as Lord Gavrax, but him without his memories, he calls himself Gav. It's very interesting what the author's trying to do about showing us that we can be good, that nobody's innately just bad. It's all about the choices that they make, which I thought was a good message to send through this comical farce. I'm about 40% of the way through the book now, and so I won't be giving up very many more details. I'm going to keep it vague so that I don't spoil it for anyone. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm glad I let my mood drive me. The other book I started is the book I'm buddy reading with Audrey from Audrey Approved. We started Foundryside last night, and I read the first 50 pages. This is about Sancha. She is this wonderful thief, and she's been given this grand heist to complete. She has special powers, which help her obtain the object, and we get to see kind of how the magic system works, about how they will scribe spells and incantations in non-thinking objects. I feel like the magic system is pretty cool. I'm going to say what the object was because I'm only 50 pages into a 500-page book, so I don't really think it's a spoiler, but I guess it could be a minor spoiler, so if you don't want to know, skip to the next bit. But she finds that she has a talking key, and the key can open anything. And she now realizes why this is so valuable. And it's going to be interesting to see what she does next. Does she turn it in and get the money for the job? Or does she do something different? I don't know. I'm excited to see. I will not be finishing this before the leg ends, so this is going to count as a sightseeing book. The Discord has been very active. Lots of people are chatting. Apparently, there are 1,400 people signed up, so that's crazy. I think there was like 500 or 600 last year. I will let you know how the books are going, and when we get the next prompt, I'll let you know. I have now finished Dreadful by Caitlin Rozakis. There was a very silly ending to a very humorous book, and I really loved it. I'm going to give it 4 stars. It was 368 pages, and because it was fantasy, I got the genre bonus for an additional 50 points, which adds up to 418 points towards leg 1. I have now read about 150 pages in Foundryside, and this is incredibly fast-paced. I I'm very interested in where the story is going. We're getting quite a bit of like the magical fantasy world building, which is really cool. And yeah, I am just going to keep reading this, and it'll even probably be in next week's vlog as well. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. So then yesterday, the new prompt dropped. We are going to Buenos Aires, Argentina. And for that, our prompt is a book with 2 point of views. This took me forever to figure out because I don't really read a lot of books with 2 point of views, and I found that it's really common in romance books, but I didn't want to add books just to fit the prompt. I want to read books that I own and am interested in. And finally, I have this choice, You Will Be Safe Here by Damien Barr. This has 2 timelines with 1 character in each timeline, so it counts. This is not going to be a fantasy bonus, but the author identifies as an LGBT author, and so I will get that bonus instead. Hey, so it is day 7. I had some poor health days and wasn't able to update you, so I'm going to do it all in one fell swoop now. For Buenos Aires, I read You Will Be Safe Here by Damien Barr. This is a very interesting historical fiction with 2 timelines. We open with this 16-year-old boy in South Africa, and he is being sent by his mom and his mom's boyfriend to a camp that's supposed to make men out of boys. It's essentially kind of a military camp / conversion therapy, and it is incredibly destructive and not great. Then we flash back to the Second Boer War in 1901, and we follow a character who gets put in a concentration camp. And it's these two twin stories taking place in the same location over time. It was incredibly powerful. I really loved it. The narrator had a South African accent and pronounced the Afrikaans words, which was really immersive. I really liked this book. It's a 4.5, but possibly could grow to 5 the more I think on it. It unfortunately did end up having more than 2 POVs, but I checked the Discord and they say I can count it, which honestly I'm so grateful for. This was a very hard challenge for me. This book had 320 pages. It was written by an LGBT author, so that gives me additional 50 points, which gives me 370 points for the Buenos Aires leg. I realized I forgot to mention the detours. The detour in Buenos Aires was to shout out a local bookstore. I didn't feel confident showing my location, so I posted that privately and got 200 points. And that reminds me, I didn't mention the Toronto detour, which was to take a pic with your current read and a pet. This is the picture I used. He was not super happy about being woken up from his nap, so he's a little grumpy in the picture. I am still working on Foundryside. This is really fun, really fast-paced. I'm enjoying it so far, and I'll give you more updates when I finish it. So now is leg 3. We are traveling to Berlin, Germany, and the prompt is to have a movement word in the title. I actually had a fair amount of options for this, but I've narrowed it down to 3. The first is Here Comes the Sun. Comes is the movement word, by Nicole Dennis Benn. This is a general fiction, I think, but this author is LGBT, and so are her characters. So I might pick this. A movement word, spin. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any queer rep or anything in this, but this is a book I wanted to read for a while, so it's a contender. And my third option is The Women Could Fly. Fly obviously being the movement word. I know that this is a little bit fantastical, and I think there are horror elements, so I'm not 100% sure on this. So what I plan to do is I'm going to read the first little bit, maybe a chapter, maybe less, I don't know, and narrow it down that way. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read a little bit and then choose, and I'll let you know what I ended up picking. The other thing I wanted to mention is I am going to extend this vlog throughout the weekend. Next weekend is going to be the face-off weekend, and I want to be able to include that whole thing in the vlog. So I'm going to carry through this through Sunday. So it is day 9. I know you just saw me try a chapter for 3 different books, and I picked The Women Could Fly. Before I started reading this, I decided to look up to see if the author was queer, and in doing so, I came across a very middling review of this book, and I just instantly, my mood changed, and I didn't want to read it anymore. So I then picked up Evocation by S.T. Gibbons on my Kindle. This has a beautiful cover. I will show it. But unfortunately, the cover was better than the book. I ended up DNFing it at 51%, which is what is required in order to log those pages. I have not been feeling great and didn't feel like picking up something different. So Evocation follows 3 characters. They all have some sort of supernatural kind of abilities, occult or psychics or whatever. And we are following David. He is incredibly wealthy and has come from a long line of people who have like charm and persuasion, which really helps him since he's a lawyer. But then all of a sudden he starts getting sick. We know from the back of the book that basically his family made a deal with the devil and now the time has come due. But when I got to 50%, he was just now figuring that out and still not quite even believing it. It was too spread out. And the characters, like, it focuses on David and David's ex-husband Reese and Reese's wife Moira. And it's very weird. There's all this weird, like, romantic and sexual tension between them. And I don't even know what the author was trying to do because, like, obviously I don't want Reese to cheat on his wife. But they were really trying to play up the connection between the exes. And I just didn't care. The writing is not good. And I didn't care about the characters. And they felt very cardboard cutout, at least what I read. So I read 51%, so I'm only allowed to count the pages that I read. So I read 201 pages. I am choosing to walk, which is going to cut my points in half. There's no point in paying the GRC for such a low amount of points. And I will get the LGBT plus author and the genre bonus of fantasy, which gives me 200 points. I have submitted that now, and I will probably pick up a book for sightseeing until the next prompt drops. Our detour for Berlin was to post on social media the most beautiful book you own. I posted on Threads the book When Things Are Alive, They Hum by Hannah Bent. I will show you what it looks like. I think it's gorgeous. And yeah, I think I will also try to figure out how to link my Threads account. I don't post on there very often, but except for basically during the Amazing Readathon. Good news, I am nearly done with Foundryside, and I was thinking it was going to have to qualify for a 400-point sightseeing. However, there is a prompt that says over 500 pages, and as you can see, 503 pages. So this is going to get me 500 points when I'm finished. All right, so I'm ending this vlog here. I anticipate we'll get a new prompt soon. This week has been a roller coaster. I've had some high highs and definitely some low lows. If you're doing the Amazing Readathon, tell me how your week is going. And even if you aren't, tell me if you're interested in any of the books I read, or just tell me what you've been reading. We can have a chat in the comments. It's my absolute favorite part of BookTube. Thank you so much for joining me. Stay tuned for next week.